Is this the dagger?
G'day guys, JB here, and Game 1 of the 2023 NBA Finals is in the books, and the Denver Nuggets, currently with a 1-0 series lead, look to establish themselves early on in this game, which they certainly did. Started playing size over stats, and then despite a late challenge there from the Heat, who started to fire up a little bit in the fourth quarter, able to come home strong and come home with the win. No doubt about it in the way they played. They were clearly the best team on the floor, and by the end of it, it was pretty clear who the best team in this series has been so far. We'll see how that one continues to pan out, as the Heat themselves are looking really in trouble and struggling from behind. A few stats and facts obviously coming out of this game here, which will be really interesting talking points throughout. But let's get into it. Let's take a look at Game 1 of the 2023 NBA Finals. Of course, started out in the first quarter. It was clear that Bam and Jokic were going to be the key matchup, as was suspected. One was more of a passing game. One was clearly more of a scoring game. Of course, Jokic opening up with that typical facilitation that he's able to provide the team. Meanwhile, for Bam, scoring the basketball, eventually went to the cup later on in the game, but was really stretching the floor, trying to get Jokic out from under the hoop. Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. were getting early touches, keeping them in it. Aaron Gordon, 12 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 assist, with 6 of 8 shooting across the first quarter there. Was clearly the best player for Denver. And Michael Porter Jr., again, it was key to get those third options really rolling and really playing well. The referees allowed fairly physical play, unless it was clearly a knockdown or clearly a foul. They weren't really calling anything, and ultimately I really feel that's what basketball fans want overall, not just in the NBA Finals. The Nuggets defense proved key, even without great offensive success, which was really interesting to see. They were getting a lot of stops there. They were getting forcing a lot of turnovers, forcing a lot of bad shots, forcing a lot of misses. But the problem is they weren't really able to get as much jump shot success. They were getting some good offense, but there was still some shots left on the table, which to me says a lot when you look at the fact at quarter time it was 59 to 35 rounded field goal percentages there. So to say they had a bit on the table really tells you the way they played. Miami looked to get through sets of hands, but unfortunately they just continued to settle for isolation plays, which really didn't help their team, particularly when you look at the overall jump shooting numbers of the squad, and you can go back and check those out yourselves. A lot of players struggling to hit from the field. Overall, though, size over stats, with Jokic facilitating. Aaron Gordon had some size mismatches, really took it to the cup. Michael Porter Jr., if he had a larger player, a bit more of a defender on him, stretching the floor, if not taking it to the cup as well. Joker facilitating, quarter time lead to Denver. Of course, Aaron Gordon, as I mentioned there, 12 points, 4 rebounds, and an assist in that quarter. 6 of 8 from the field, none of 1 from deep for Miami. Jimmy Butler with the only decent impact he had on this game. 7 points, 3 rebounds, and assist, steal on a block. 3 of 7 from the field, 1 of 2 from deep. Again, as I mentioned there, 59.1% to 34.6% from the field. 13 of 22 for Denver, 9 of 26 for the Heat, and Denver up in the assist column as well, 9 to 5. Second term, Jokic was out of the game to start, but it didn't change the overall ball movement for the Nuggets, and that's really when the likes of Jamal Murray started to kick in. It's when Michael Porter Jr. really started to kick into the game. Miami weren't necessarily careless with their basketball. They were really using their clock, but the problem is they were really bad and really obvious turnovers when it occurred, which again just allowed the crowd back into the game. And again, as I mentioned there, Aaron Gordon in the first quarter, Michael Porter Jr. stepping up in the second quarter. Big dunks, big shots, really lifting the crowd. And I did mention it's going to take Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. Around that 12 to 15 points per game constantly for them. And they really established that early. Again, giving Jamal Murray time to get into the game. And again, he was still being Jamal Murray, still hitting shots, still coming off screens, still attacking the rim, still getting to the mid-range, playing a really good brand of basketball. The other side of it as well, and this was for both teams really, spreading the floor meant that they could use their size at the cup. There wasn't this 5-0 offense where they're just jacking up shots. They were, again, getting to the cup, really utilising the space at the rim, really attacking it. And, when a 2-on-1 situation came, had to go and address the ball player, of course, really making it easy to get open looks on the baseline there. Miami really failed to use their roster, in my opinion. They only really utilised their key players through, of course, Bam Adebayo, who was their best player at the half. 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists there. 8 of 13 from the floor, another 1 from deep. But unfortunately, that was really where the contribution started to drop off for Miami. Jimmy Butler was probably their second leading scorer, close to their second best player, but really didn't have much of an impact, as I mentioned, outside of quarter time. To halftime, though, for Jamal Murray, he ended up leading the scoring there. 18 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists there. 8 of 12 from the field, 2 of 3 from deep. Field goal percentages still proved to be a key factor. 59.5% for Denver and 37.5% from the field for the Heat. That was 25 of 42 and 18 of 48. So again, as you can see, shots were going up for the Heat. They just weren't going in. From deep, of course, Denver 45.5 to the Heat's 23.5. That was 5-11 and 4-17. 18 and 12 difference on the assist column, and Denver at 1 point plus 14 points in the paint. Just killing it at the rim there, really getting what they wanted. Opening the third term, though, Miami moved the ball early and, to no surprise, started seeing results. Passing, cutting it, getting into sets of hands. They then appeared to settle a little bit after this started to work, but again, it's the game plan that pretty much worked for Denver the whole night. They were not necessarily relying on that deep ball, but they were still able to get to the cup, still able to score. Miami really trying to have a go in that one there. Jamal Murray really lifted once again, decided to take over the third, got results. It wasn't necessarily just a scoring, it was facilitation, creating space, all of that stuff there. Jimmy Butler just didn't take the game when he needed to, and Jamal Murray tried to step up. You know, when Jokic was seeing time on the bench, that's when he really needed to step up. Unfortunately, just didn't do it. And again, it really proved costly in the end. It didn't have as much impact as he probably would have liked, particularly in a game where he needed to establish himself. The Heat themselves had won their first 3 openers of the series, would have been the first team to do that. I'm pretty sure, just looking through things here. Heat won game 1 on the road in each of their first 3 playoff series. They would have been the first team in league history to do it had they had done it in Denver. Of course, that wasn't the case on that one there. Back to size, the sheer size of the Nuggets, a lot to handle defensively for the Heat. Yeah, you've got some good, capable guys. You've got a lot of guys with heart, with a lot of heart. But Jokic at 7 foot, Porter Jr. at 6'10", Aaron Gordon at 6'8", Caldwell Pope at 6'5", Jamal Murray 6'4", 6'5". That is a lot to deal with on a basketball court. And when they are all firing, not only that, they are playing some pretty good defense as well. Particularly there in that third term, really started to struggle there as far as how the Heat were able to handle them. And again, Denver just had their players picking their spots, taking it over with the ball. The 5 double-digit scorers there for Denver. Bruce Brown really getting in on it as well. For the Heat, though, Bam Adebayo continued to be their best offensive threat, and he was getting to the rim. Really some solid aggressiveness and some attacking basketball from Bam, spreading that floor, as I mentioned a little bit, just trying to drag Jokic out of it. But three-quarter time, that margin was at 21. Jamal Murray leading the way at that point, 24 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal, 10 of 17 from the field, 2 of 4 from deep, 2 of 2 from the stripe. Meanwhile, for Bam, was slowly creeping up, 24 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 12 of 23 from the field, none of 1 from deep. Again, field goal percentages still proving a difference. Denver leading 55.9 to 35.5. Denver, too, really not struggling. I mean, there was a 15-shot difference there at one point. 33 of 59 for Denver, 27 of 76 for the Heat, 42.1% to 25.9% through 3 quarters from deep, 8 of 19 for the Nuggets, 7 of 27 for the Heat, and Denver just still leading the way in the assist category, 24 to 18, and all of a sudden the Heat appeared to come back to life and looked like they were going to really challenge things, really change the scope of the game. Huge spark to start the fourth, tried to be on a massive comeback, started getting some ball movement, started hitting some shots, cut things down really, really quickly. Kyle Lowry had been really aggressive, was really trying to force the issue, and again, it was something that I was expecting Jimmy Butler to do. Didn't happen, which is quite unfortunate. And again, no pass mark for me for Jimmy Butler in game 1. He just needs to be better. I know he's got a bad ankle, but at the same time, you don't make the NBA Finals, you do not walk on the floor, and at that point have an excuse. You're on the floor, you're there to play, you're leading the team, you need to get it done. Denver's defense, not where it needed to be inside as well, particularly knowing Miami couldn't hit a shot. They started to hit a couple of jumpers here or there, but overall scored a lot of their points towards the paint, towards the basket area. And for some reason, Denver's defense just wouldn't tighten up on that one there. It didn't matter in the end, though. Nikola Jokic showed why it was his team down the stretch. opened up with a triple-double for his NBA Finals career, the first player and the only other player other than Jason Kidd in 2002 to do that, and led both teams in scoring and assists. First player to do that other than Michael Jordan in 1991 against the Los Angeles Lakers. Big one for Miami. They finished the game with the lowest free throw attempts total for a team in playoff history. They only had 2 free throw attempts for the game, and it wasn't poor officiating. They just didn't get to the line, which is a big difference when you look at how inside out the game was for Denver, when you look at the field goal percentages and the way they played, and that was the ultimate difference as well. When you look at the shot attempts and the field goal percentages overall, 50.6% for Denver, 40 of 79 from the field. Meanwhile for Miami, they were 39 of 96. They made one less shot with 15, 16, 17 more attempts. It was 17 more attempts there. So really wayward in their shooting. Player of the game, as clear as you can see there. Nikola Jokic, 27 points, 10 rebounds, 14 assists, 1 steal and 1 block. As I mentioned there, the only other triple-double to begin an NBA Finals career was that of Jason Kidd, and the only other player to lead his team in points lead the entire game in points and assists. Nikola Jokic now with Michael Jordan. Jokic just made it his game down the stretch as the Heat mounted a comeback. The facilitation was there all game. Scoring lifted towards the end. Rebounding was there as well. Really hard to try and criticise basically the way he played that game. Played it really, really well. Got the result, and they currently sit with a 1-0 lead. Of course, that means the MVP of this series so far is Nikola Jokic. We'll get to that in a second. Bam as well, the best player for the Heat there, as I mentioned. 26 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 52% from the field. Didn't make a 3. Overall, Denver used their size over the analytics. Miami couldn't buy a basket. Jimmy Butler, pretty much a no-show by comparison. Really needs to lift his game there. Ball movement proving to be key for both sides, and it proved when Miami activated it as well that it was going to be key. Miami with the lowest amount of free throw attempts in playoff history, and Nikola Jokic, the MVP, the player of the Game 1 MVP, and leading the NBA Finals MVP race. Again, started by facilitating, got everyone else involved, got everyone else activated, and then was able to do his own thing himself. He knows his game, he knows his value right now. He's the best player on the planet, and he's having an NBA Finals. He had a pretty good NBA Finals debut. Pretty hard to fault that NBA Finals debut. They are at home for another game, and we'll see what they can get out of that other game. But right now, they certainly look like the team that is going to capture the NBA championship. Nikola Jokic leading the MVP race there. Game 2 is in around 3 days' time. We'll see how that pans out. That one will be, once again, in Denver. I expect pretty much a very similar looking outfit for Denver. However, I would think that shots start to drop a little bit for Miami here. I would also like to think that Jimmy Butler is a lot more aggressive in the game. 14 shots overall isn't necessarily his game. Bam Adebayo stepping up is key. Caleb Martin, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, all these guys, they're going to have to lift as well. Kyle Lowry continuing to do his thing. And I suppose the next question is, what kind of an impact will Tyler Hero have if he indeed turns up to Game 3? But my MVP of the NBA Finals so far is Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets, who lead the series 1-0. Just a few stats here to run through for the game. As we mentioned there previously, the Nuggets had a 13-point lead at one stage in the game. They are undefeated when having a lead of at least 13 points. With his 14th point, Bam Adebayo became the 5th player in Heat history with 1,000 career playoff points behind Wade, LeBron, Butler, and Chris Bosh. He is also the only Heat player other than Dwayne Wade to score 1,000 playoff points aged 25 or younger. For Nikola Jokic, he joined LeBron James as the only player in the last 25 years with 10 points and 10 assists in any half of an NBA Finals game. LeBron did it in NBA Finals game number 42. Jokic had done it to the half of his first game. Jokic and Murray scored or assisted on 64 of the Nuggets' 79 points, to which point the Heat themselves only had 60. Bam had his 17th career playoff game of at least 20 and 10. The only player in Heat history with more is LeBron James with 25. Jamal Murray had his 6th straight 25-point game, the longest streak of his career regular season of playoffs. The only Nuggets ever with longer streaks are Carmelo Anthony with 7 and Alex English with 12. Again, Jokic, second player with a triple-double in his NBA Finals debut behind Jason Kidd. The Heat setting the record for the lowest free throw attempts made in an NBA playoff game ever, with only the 2 attempts. The Nuggets won by 11 in Game 1, the largest by a team making its NBA Finals debut since the Spurs in 1999. The other people there, of course, was the 1947 Warriors, who had 13 points to their winning margin, and the 1951 Royals, who won by 27 against the Knicks. Of course, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, just the second pair of teammates to each have 20 and 25 and 10 assists in an NBA Finals game, behind Magic Johnson and James Worthy in 1987. And as I mentioned before, the big one there, Nikola Jokic, just the second player in history to lead both teams outright in points and assists on a Finals debut, behind Michael Jordan. He is your Game 1 MVP. He is currently the NBA Finals MVP, and the Denver Nuggets lead the 2023 Finals 1-0. Thanks for tuning in, guys. That's been me. I'm out.